A big family, desperate for a bigger home.
The house is not in that great a shape.
Can they haul their dream mansion 100 miles across the Pacific Ocean
I don't want to go that way.
without it sinking into the abyss? Hauling this mammoth mansion will be nothing short of one massive move. Souk, Vancouver Island, a tranquil town with stunning views of the Olympic mountain range, perfect for all the family. Grandparents Red and Barb moved to their lakeside lot in 2009. They love having their whole brood over to stay.
The kids love it here, and they just really enjoy coming out to spend time with Nana and Papa, and I want them to keep that.
But as their grandchildren grow, their cozy house can't do the same.
The house is small. It's only 960 square feet.
The house is not in that great a shape, but it's the property that's absolutely wonderful.
Red and Barb don't want to leave their picturesque plot, but they can't afford to build a larger replacement home from scratch. So they decide to have a second-hand house moved to their existing property. And boy, do they find a place. A huge 70-foot-long luxury home in West Vancouver that was destined for the wrecking ball. It comes full of modern fittings, spacious bedrooms, and enormous floor-to-ceiling windows that make the most of any ocean view.
My first impression of the house is I just think it's fantastic. It's got way more space, I think, than we actually need, but I've got a big family.
Buying the house will set Red and Barb back $35,000. Moving it to their lakeside plot and laying foundations, $75,000. Renovation, $150,000, bringing the grand total for this daring project to nearly $260,000. But that's still half the price of building a brand new home this size. To reach Red and Barb's cherished lakeside lot, the house needs hauling over 100 miles from Cypress in West Vancouver to Souk on Vancouver Island. This is a long trek for such a large building. And on the West Coast, there's only one mover you can turn to. Heavy hauler Ron Nickel of the Nickel Brothers.
Most houses are not designed to be moved at all. Some take longer, some are more expensive to move. We've got to try and find ways that we can make it work.
But moving this house will test Ron's mettle. He wants to drive it to the new site by road. But the building is too wide to pass through these narrow streets. Ron's route needs a rethink. The only way he can move this house to Souk is to take advantage of the province's waterways and sail it on an epic sea journey. This is extremely risky. Although the house sits on the shoreline, not only does Ron have to figure out a way of lifting it onto an ocean-going barge, but ensuring he avoids running into ships and rogue waves en route.
Our tide situation is critical. We have to be able to have enough water to bring our barge in close enough. Also, it's very critical that we have a high tide there.
Day one. As Ron's crew get ready to lift the house off its footings, he discovers that the structure's best feature is its weakest.
Worst case scenario is that the building would flex on this end and the windows would crack and break and we'd have all sorts of damage.
To enjoy the beautiful sea views, the house has huge windows, but they're very heavy. If the lighter timber frame of the house twists out of shape as they lift it, it could cause the hefty window frames to fall out, smashing the glass and causing the walls to collapse. To strengthen the house, the team must reinforce the windows with temporary wooden support walls. This should make the structure solid and able to take the stress of being lifted up.
The key point for all of this is that when we first start to jack, that's when we're going to find out whether the walls that we put in there are going to work.
The crew need to build a steel rig under the house to support its walls as they lift it up. But it won't be easy.
This is a very critical time in the whole procedure, because once the building is free of the foundation and up, this is the time that we're looking at to see how the building is reacting to the change of bearing points.
This plot is crammed. The neighbors won't be too happy if one of these beams takes out their windows or gate posts.
Look! No! You gotta get back to 10.
Is there a great big mechanical machine that raises it?
This house is so heavy, Ron needs more than 20 hydraulic jacks to prise it off its foundations.
Anybody see any problems yet?
Spotters make sure the house remains level. If it leans, it could topple onto the homes next door.
Up about a ½ inch in the garage.
And there's liftoff.
I'm surprised that all the glass is in place. It is worrying to see it so high up in the air, because I don't know, you just think it's more susceptible to the elements, and just makes you worry about how it will arrive at our end.
Red and Barb's new home is so big, it needs 32 wheels to make it mobile.
I find it really nerve-wracking. I mean, gee whiz, that's a big house to lift. It's got a long journey ahead of it.
With the house ready to roll, Ron's team now face their biggest challenge. Load the house and take it out to sea. Coming up,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
can the crew guide this extra wide load across an extremely narrow ramp
We could get grounded out there, and then we'd be in serious troubles.
while racing against a fast-moving tide? In Vancouver, Red and Barb's dream home has been braced and lifted for its ocean crossing. Now the team are at the mercy of Mother Nature. This house is so heavy, Ron needs as much water in the bay as possible to load it onto the barge, or it could get stranded on the shore. Today at 9:30 p.m. is the only time the tide will be high enough to load for 4 weeks. It's a critical deadline. And at peak tide, the team will have a razor-thin window of just 60 minutes to load before the tide goes out. A delay could spell doom. They need a meticulously timed plan to get the barge in, lay down ramps, load, and set sail.
The barge should come in pretty close to where the water line is there now, and then our ramps will span the rest of it coming this way.
5 p.m. The team race to make a level path across the shore. In the nick of time, the barge appears.
Said our barge is out there.
But it's heading to the wrong house.
Your guy is here. I can see the ramps and the crane and that, but he's too far towards North Vancouver along Marine Drive.
This is Ron's worst nightmare. The barge is 5 miles up the coast. By the time it reaches them, their 60-minute window for loading will be even tighter.
Once the tide starts dropping, then very quickly we could get grounded out there, and then we'd be in serious troubles. This particular job is a little bit more difficult than our normal loading procedure because of the fact that we had so little room to work.
Ron's team must now battle with a retreating tide. As the water goes out, it will pull the barge out to sea. The ramps will give way, spelling doom for the house. The team need to tether the barge to the land with 2 big trucks. But on this lot, there's no room for them to get to the shoreline. So they have to improvise, lashing the barge to an excavator and a giant concrete block. In the hope that even with the strong tides, the barge holds fast.
Without being able to hold the barge in position, it would not be a safe process or procedure at all, and something I would not want to attempt.
The excavator tries to maneuver the concrete block down the side of the house to reach the water's edge.
Straighten out even a little more.
But it's a tight squeeze.
This thing weighs almost 6,000 pounds. We'll be able to hook the barge right up to this right here. This will hold it in on one side, and that machine will hold it in on the other side.
"7 p.m. The barge finally arrives. They anchor it to the shore and bridge the gap between land and sea with ramps.
Yep.
They must be level, or the house could tip. It's an anxious moment for Red and Barb.
It's on top of the truck and going on to the ramp. I don't know about this.
I'll be way less nervous when they have it on our property. Anything can happen, you know. You never know.
Back off some more.
Back up, back up.
There's just inches between the truck wheels and the ramp edge.
Yeah, that's good, just like that.
One slip now, and this house will be going for a swim. With just 20 minutes to go before the tide goes out, Murray's stressed.
Yeah, on barge days, you're always a little bit more on edge.
I don't want to go that way.
Yep, we're on. That's the worst of the pressure as far as the climb goes.
The house makes it onto the barge as night falls.
The rest should be easy.
But hauling this precious load through sea traffic at night will make the next stage of this move even more treacherous.
Yeah, it seems we always seem to be cutting at 5, so it's always a race.
Coming up, will the house make it to Red and Barb's land without rogue waves sweeping it out to sea? In Vancouver, Red and Barb's dream home only just made it onto the barge in time.
It's a bit scary if you're not used to it. Yeah, it's really impressive though.
Now the team face an even trickier task, sailing it up the Pacific Ocean.
It's really, really intimidating. We're hoping for no wind at all.
7 a.m. The house has been traveling for 5 hours. The currents here are strong, and the house is completely exposed. A gust of wind or a rogue wave could mean a splash landing for this house.
And we're going to have the wind pushing against the barge. Over.
Tug Captain Willis Rook is also nervous about docking at the new site.
The tide is very important, not just for us to get in with our boat, but to get the barge close enough to the beach so they can get their ramps on, get the house off. It's kind of tricky because it is very shallow.
Homeowner Barb is even more anxious.
Worst case scenario for me is if the house doesn't arrive in good condition or doesn't arrive at all. And it would be all for nothing if the house drops off into the ocean because of some rogue wave.
At Red and Barb's shoreline lot, Ron Nichols' brother Alan gets ready for the barge's arrival.
So because this is where I need to get to with this second staging, right? Is right here. Because the barge, I think it's going to come in right there, right?
But a major complication might stop the barge from docking here.
The water doesn't come up to the shore, to where we can unload the house. So we need to bridge out to get close enough to the barge.
Red and Barb's lot sits at the far end of Souk Bay. The water here is only a few feet deep. Even with the highest tide, the barge cannot get closer to the shore. The movers need to build a long, level path to the shoreline with 3 sets of ramps. But there's nothing to support them in the water, so they'll have to balance them on towers made from wooden blocks. They're gambling that this makeshift bridge will be sturdy enough not to get washed away by the tide and support the heavy house. High tide peaks here at 4:45 p.m. They have 1 hour to assemble the timber bridge before the tide comes in. Hopefully, it will hold together under the tremendous weight of the load. Barb has her fingers crossed that the barge will make high tide in time.
The barge isn't here yet. We're a bit concerned because they only have a small window of opportunity. The tide waits for no person, and no house.
Finally, in the distance, it sails into sight. Barb's dream house.
We got lines ready right here.
Rope go too.
If we're ready to receive your rope.
Amazing how they're actually making the connection between the land and the sea.
The team now face a precarious balancing act, guiding this house over the narrow bridge onto dry land.
I can't believe that they're going to be able to drive the car off, but they know what they're doing, so anyway, it's going to be exciting.
Coming up, will this hefty house prove too heavy for the brittle bridge?
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't roll, just go out.
In Vancouver, Red and Barb's spacious new home has survived being jacked up, rolled out, and a perilous ocean odyssey. But now the team face their most dangerous obstacle yet, a narrow, brittle bridge across water.
Okay, going ahead right now.
It's only a few feet away from the finish line. But the risks are far from over.
Easy, whoa, hold it, whoa.
A chain stops the house from running away as it rolls down the ramp.
Easy, easy, easy does it now. Easy.
Teetering halfway across, the unthinkable happens.
Whoa,
The chain snaps.
hold it. There seemed to be a bit of a rut in the barge. That rut put a little extra pressure on that chain, and consequently that chain broke. Ready for a head, Brandon? Okay.
Any delay now, and the tide could go out, grounding the barge. So they attach a spare chain to quickly roll down the ramp. Finally, they reach dry land.
It's on the ground! Yay, look at that! Oh my gosh!
It was a heavy building coming down the ramps there, so to bring it down as slowly as we could.
Incredible feat that they can actually do this. You know, it's incredible engineering feat.
It's awesome to have it on terra firma. Friggin' awesome.
Barb's spacious new family home finally arrives. Four months later, and work is already underway. As well as keeping their old bungalow, they'll soon have a 3-story home with luxury finishes. But it'll be a while before Red and Barb can finally move in.
There's some major things that are left to be done. There's the windows. And they're pouring the floor early next week for the basement. I think we'll be pretty much tied up in 1 more month. What about you, Red?
I think you're optimistic. I think we'll be lucky if we move in by Christmas.
No. I'm moving in before then.
Once complete, their new dream home will boast the best views in Souk.
The view from the house is amazing. When we lived in the little house, it was ground level view. The new house, it's just every level you go up, the view becomes more expansive, and it's just fantastic.
Something the whole family can enjoy for generations to come.
I think I heard, hey, big guy! Do you like Nana's new house? I thought about my grandkids, and they're just happy as gold to go into the new house. So
Yeah.
You have to grease this, okay? So you do that, and you can make the first cookies in Nana and Papa's new home. Oh, there we go. You put it somewhere, okay?
Thanks to the Move team's skill and determination, Red and Barb now have their very own Pacific Palace.
If houses have souls, I think its soul will be happy here.